How you doing, Shauna?
I'm fine. I apologize for the bad lighting.
It's fine. I'm just imagining that you're an evil overlord and you're coming to demand a ransom of $1 billion. Otherwise, you won't give out the cure for COVID-19. Shauna, we have a special guest here today.
Hi, I'm Kyle Eitel.
Who are you and why should anybody care about what you have to say?
So I'm a filmmaker and I sit on the board of the Jamaica Film and Television Association. Sometimes I teach people, filmmaking.
Cool, so he's a man of many hats, but he doesn't have a hat on today. I am the only one with a hat. Those are the rules. We are all movie fans here and I don't see any return in sight for movie theaters. A lot of movies have been put on hold indefinitely, but some of them have been released on the digital market. A new term has been popping up for a lot of people. That's PVOD, which is Premium Video on Demand. We heard from Universal Pictures, which one of the things that they decided to do with COVID-19 was they were going to release one of their biggest movies of the year, Trolls World Tour, on demand. And it was announced recently that they actually made quite a bit of money doing the on-demand release. I think bigger than any of us expected it to do. Shauna, you can speak to that because the number that they announced was that it made $95 million.
I'm probably the only person that did not know that this movie existed until when I heard that it made like $100 million off PVOD, and I'm saying, what?
I only heard about it because it was announced as one of the movies that was coming out on demand. It was one of those things that was just like, okay, COVID is here, how are we going to adjust? Here's a major release that is skipping the release date in theaters, which historically there has been on-demand releases for films, but it's been after there's been a release window in theaters.
Exactly.
But Jeff Shell, which is the CEO of NBC Universal, said in the Wall Street Journal that the results of Trolls World Tour have exceeded our expectations and demonstrated the viability of PVOD. As soon as theaters reopen, we expect to release movies on both formats. This is a normal thing for a studio to do. Announcing that your movie has made a bunch of money is something that studios do all the time as a way to incentivize the market to go out and see the movie. You always see there's a TV spot that says, this movie has been the #1 movie for 3 weeks in America, and you should go see it because everybody else is seeing it. I don't think it's out of the norm to talk about how well your movie has done business-wise. The problem came right at the end of his statement where he says, as soon as theaters reopen, we expect to release movies on both formats. What do you guys think about that stance to say that they're going to release the movie both on demand and in theaters same day?
It's really, really an interesting space because this was a good chance for them to experiment because they got to see the revenue without the interference of theaters, to see the buy-in of audiences to the PVOD platforms. I think we may not start to see the big tentpoles, the Fast and the Furiouses and the bigger Marvel movies and stuff moving to the PVOD yet, but we may start seeing those kind of middle range, more kid oriented, because that's been a big block for a lot of parents, is that you have 2 kids or 3 kids and they're young. Actually carry them to the movies, it's really expensive. You're spending $100, $200 US for a single night out.
If I'm a father of 4 and my kids want to go to the movies, then each of those kids wants popcorn, or they want a hot dog, or they want nachos, or they want a soda or something. If you add up all of that money at the end of the night, you're spending a lot of money for one movie. As opposed to staying home, you rent the movie for $20 and everybody sits on the couch and just watches together.
Honestly, I kind of feel it for the movie theaters because, that's where they make like a bunch of their money, off snacks and stuff. So when you try to take away that money from them, I would feel the same way. I want the theater experience to be preserved. Mm-hmm. There's nothing like the theater experience.
Right, yeah.
And that's gonna kill them. That's gonna kill them if they plan to release PVOD and theaters at the same time. But
yeah, I get what you're saying, and that actually is gonna tie into the next aspect of this scandal, which is AMC took that stance of Universal Pictures to say that, okay, you're saying that you're gonna release same day in theaters and on PVOD. Alright, cool. We're not gonna release any more Universal Pictures movies in our theaters. The official statement was AMC believes that this proposed action to go to the home and theater simultaneously, Universal is breaking the business model and dealings between our two companies. And since then, Regal Cinema has also come out and said that they are not going to be showing Universal Pictures movies. And just to give people an idea of what that means, so you have the Fast and Furious franchise, you have the Jurassic World franchise, you have James Bond, you have a ton of DreamWorks movies come from Universal. Like there's a huge list of franchises that have huge fan bases that go to the theaters every year. So for theaters to say that they are not going to be showing Universal Pictures movies is no light statement.
I think at this stage, it's just a lot of grandstanding. One thing I do expect to come out of it is that the window from theatrical release, that exclusive window, is going to get even shorter, because I believe it used to be 9 weeks years ago. And now it's down to somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks now in the case of some films.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to probably shrink a lot more.
There are actually cases where a movie comes out this week and then on VOD, I've seen it happen. It's not like something that hasn't happened.
It's not like we can pretend that theaters have been, doing fine, and then COVID happened, and then all of a sudden they were losing all this business. Movie theaters have been losing the battle with streaming for a while.
There's a guy I follow online, Matthew Ball. He's a former Amazon Studios executive, and he does some really good analysis. And one thing he's really hit on is that a lot of these trends were going to happen anyway, but we've moved up the timeline a lot now. So they now have to deal with this change in a space of where it would have been probably 5 or 10 years. They're now going to have to deal with it within the space of 3 years. Mm-hmm. Because thanks to Trolls and stuff, there is now a proof of concept for these businesses to take that gamble and push these higher and higher budget projects onto PVOD and possibly even to grow their own streaming platforms.
Yeah, and Sean, I think you're the only person I know who goes to the movie theaters as much as I do. Not so much recently because you're washed up and old, but in general though, you do love going to the movie theaters.
Any movie can be enjoyed on a small screen, but there's nothing like sometimes sitting in a theater with people.
Yeah.
You have the same reactions to the movie. It's a really nice experience for me. I mean, we laugh, we get frightened at the same time. Well, when they're not overbearing, because sometimes the theater audience.
I was gonna say, because sometimes you want to smack whoever's in the theater with you because they won't shut up.
But honestly, I would not put that down for just sitting in a theater with friends or even just the plain audiences and enjoying a movie. Because the last time I sat in a theater and really enjoyed it was like Avengers Endgame, and that was really, really nice.
I think that is an experience that I think would be lost. I mean, right now we are seeing a lot of people who are doing, live tweets of movies. The directors and the writers are doing live tweets with fans about certain movies. There are certain things that we could see as a new experience for streaming and for seeing movies at home. But to replicate the experience you get in the theater, I personally don't think that you could do that. But I will say, as people who live in a country where we don't get all the movies that we would like in theaters, moving to a PVOD platform does work out in our favor. Imagine not having to sit through the delays, the limited run of certain films. So here's a list of movies that are supposed to be released in the next few months based on speculation about COVID. You have The King of Staten Island, which is the Judd Apatow comedy being released by Universal, starring Pete Davidson. You have Scoob, which is the computer animated Scooby-Doo movie releasing on May 15. My Spy, which is the Dave Bautista spy movie that has been pushed back from last year up to now. The Lovebirds, which is the Kumail Nanjiani and Issa Rae romantic comedy. And Artemis Fowl, which is also a movie which was supposed to be released last year that got pushed up to this year. So I think we're going to see some more major releases. They're kind of testing the waters right now. The AMC reaction might have been a little bit of an overreaction, but it's also in the sense that the Universal statement of saying let's do PVOD at the same time as theaters when theaters reopen was a little bit of an overstep of a statement, because right now, yes, they're testing the waters, they're seeing how things are going to go, but also right now is a very extreme case where everybody is at home. I don't think you can expect this kind of captivated, it's literally a captivated audience because they can't go anywhere. There are some benefits to releasing same day because you get everybody around the world gets to view it at the same time, but also that takes away from, I think, the intended experience of the artist. I think they want it to be seen in theaters, that's why they make it that way. There's lots of factors to this. I don't think it's as cut as dry as saying we are not going to show any more of these movies.
There's nothing concrete yet, Damon. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there is nothing concrete.
There was nothing concrete. He just made, as you said. So maybe 6 months down the line now, they realize that it won't be feasible. You know, they'll still have their movies in the theaters and whatnot. So I think that AMC and Regal just jumping up and say they're not going to show any more movies, any more Universal movies. It was just, to me, like, what?
I mean, that's just beating your chest. That's just being like, say something, no?
Yeah, the international theatrical market will keep cinema alive for now, I think, because it's just that important as even just the marketing tool.
I think AMC just wants to be treated with respect and love. You know, they just want some tender love and care. I feel like Universal, they might have promised AMC that they were going to stay loyal. COVID don't mean nothing, baby. We're going to be close. We're going to be together. Nothing's going to stop our love. And then as soon as the going got tough, and PVOD walked by in a skimpy little dress, Universal was just like, But that's going to be it for this week's episode. I want to thank you both for coming on and talking about this issue. You're both very, very well spoken and very informative. You actually made me look better than I do because I tend to chat some idiot stuff sometimes. So it's good to have the experts to.
It's true.
Yeah, thank you, Shauna, for the historical data on that.